So, what does it mean to be a hero? The term being a hero leads to many assumptions. Heroes save people from peril, only inflicting pain when necessary. Heroes, uh, heroes act how they feel others should. Heroes aren't innately better than any of us. Heroes are just that good people who hold up to their morals. They're just honorable, and when they want to then retire from heroism, they do so with honor. Though this isn't a discussion about normal heroes or superheroes. This is a discussion about Watchmen, or more specifically, Dr. Manhattan. In this novel, instead of following just some heroes, we're following masked vigilantes. We're following people who are thrown into a dark, brutal, morally ambiguous world. There's no good or bad. It's all gray. And in this world, there's Dr. Manhattan. Following a experiment gone wrong, to put it lightly, Dr. Manhattan is disassembled at the molecular level, while tearing him apart and reforming him into an almost godlike creature. To him, atoms are the same as planets. He can create things out of thin air and disappear it all the same. Time is not a factor as the past, present, and future are all happening at the same time for him. He's effectively a god. How does he break the mold of a hero? This godlike Superman and of a character. Well, let's look at Assumption 1. Assumption 1 is heroes save people from peril. They only inflict pain when it's necessary. However, with Dr. Manhattan, that's not always the case. During the Vietnam War, Dr. Manhattan is unveiled by the US government. He's meant to be a hero who saves people from pain and peril. Yet, during an important moment between the comedian and a pregnant Vietnamese woman, Dr. Manhattan watches the comedian shoot her dead. Just brutal. And he does nothing to stop her. This man with godlike powers who could teleport them away, who could turn the gun into smoke and knew this was going to happen, did nothing. This breaks the mold of a hero. He let an innocent woman, die. Why? Because, who knows? He didn't feel like he needed to. He doesn't stand up for his own morals or any morals. He's essentially a true neutral character. He believes the world will exist whether or not humans are around, so humans don't matter. This timeless view gives him a sense of amorality. He doesn't feel the need to protect people nor hurt them. In the end, it doesn't matter to him. Hell, he flees to Mars after a horrible, horrible interview just to, well, escape. Doesn't matter if fleeing might lead to World War III. He just leaves. As for Assumption 2, heroes act how they feel others should. For example, if I feel like you shouldn't kill people, I shouldn't kill people. If a hero feels like sex is wrong, I'll take Rorschach for example here, even though that's not my character. He's not going to support that. He's not going to do it. That's how people view heroes. Is they won't do anything. They won't expect anyone to do anything they wouldn't do themselves. How does Manhattan break this? Well, he doesn't have morals in the first place, so even though he's on Earth, even though he's working with the US government to prevent World War III, he doesn't care if World War III happens. He doesn't care why people are fighting. Hell, he leaves Earth initiating Russia's invasion of Afghanistan just because he felt wrong on Earth. He didn't like it. He had a lot of stress was thrown his way and he just couldn't handle it, so he left. Is that something a hero would do? He doesn't value life, so I guess it's consistent, but is that how he views others? We know it's not. We know he believes in more right and wrong from how he scolded the comedian over him shooting the Vietnamese women, even though he didn't act himself to prevent it. And lastly, assumption 3. Heroes aren't innately better than anyone else. Heroes are just like you and I, and when they retire with honor. This isn't true for Dr. Mannhattan. Well, we can go with the obvious about why he's better than average people. I mean, he's basically a god. Let's look at something different. Let's look at his morality. He's amoral. I know I keep repeating that point over and over again, but it's such a defining character trait. He's true neutral. He doesn't care what happens, good or bad. I don't like to say someone's better than him, but most people have morals. Even if you don't agree with them, most people stand for something. So you could argue that this super godlike human is, if anything, less than a human, not more. On top of that, he flees from his emotions. He treats the world like it's nothing except for the times when it gets too much for him. His partner leaves him. He has a horrible interview. There's all these horrible things, and anyone in the right mind would have a horrible rage or sadness or some reaction. And he does. That is a very human characteristic of him. But it's not consistent. He shows he doesn't care about anything, then suddenly he gains sympathy. Suddenly he cares. He knew this was going to happen too, as he can see the future. Yet he doesn't care till it's happening. Him and Silk Spectre actually discussed this while on Mars, about how unless it's happening in the now, he doesn't react. He treats it like it's not going to happen, even if he told someone, hey, you're going to do this at this time. He's very inconsistent with how he acts, which most people are at least consistent. So he breaks that assumption too, and when he decides to retire, he doesn't retire with honor. He retires with fear. He doesn't want to hurt anymore. He doesn't want to hurt anyone anymore. So he leaves. Doesn't matter if it's going to cause more pain. Now, for the lessons of this, what can we learn from analyzing this character? Clearly, this is an amoral god who sometimes feels bad. There's not much to learn. That character doesn't have much depth, does it? Except it does. Just from knowing this character exists and reading about him, we can learn that power corrupts you. Now, I'm not talking about how if you're the leader of some country, the more power that you're given, the more dictatorship you're given, the more you act just like a horrible person. No, I'm saying just with him, he knows everything. So he feels nothing. Him gaining this power took away his humanity, and we can see this in many ways. If a person becomes rich, they usually become blind to the plights of the poor. If a person becomes a leader of a group, they get blindsided about what teamwork was before then. Gaining power, if not taken properly, will cause you to forget your past and forget what it's like to not be in that position anymore. Hell, to quote a Marvel character, I know a sin for talking about a DC universe. Great power comes with great responsibility. As for another lesson we can take from him, inaction is an action. Doing nothing is still stating a statement. Now, I hate using the us versus them type of analogy or argument for anything, but when it's very clear, doing something will cause an event and doing nothing will cause the opposite, you have to choose. And doing nothing and being unable to choose is still a choice. He does nothing by living in the US working for the government, but just by doing that, he's choosing to prevent World War III because Russia's scared. But then by leaving because he doesn't want to choose, he doesn't want to deal with the morality of people, that changes him too. He leaves and initiates a world war. Well, almost. So an action is an action, and we can relate this to modern day with the Stop Asian Hate movement. We can relate it to the Black Lives Matter movement, whatever one. And I'm not going to pick sides. I'm not here to do that. And I'm very strong with my beliefs with that. But just by choosing to ignore it, you're choosing a side, whether you want to admit it or not. As for lesson 3, you have to care before you're the problem. What do I mean by this? So with Dr. Manhattan, we see time and time again throughout the entire story that he doesn't care. The world doesn't matter to him until it starts to affect him. He doesn't care about his relationship with the Silk Spectre until he loses her, and now that's all he can think about. He doesn't care about possibly causing people's cancer until he's presented with it in the now that it's too late to change it. He doesn't care about the possibility of another world war or everyone dying until it's up to him to decide. He waits, and we can see this in real life. We can see, hell, I don't want to bring up history, but Nazi Germany. There's an old poem that goes, first they came for the gypsies, I wasn't a gypsy, then they went for the disabled, I wasn't disabled, and then they went for the Jews, and etc. And then they came for me. At what point before they come to you do you have to start caring? Dr. Manhattan clearly doesn't like to choose until he's now the problem. He's the bad guy everyone's scared of. And now, in conclusion, Dr. Manhattan is Dr. Manhattan's just that, a man. He's flawed, he's fallible, he may be all-knowing, all-powerful, but at the end of the day, he's still a human on the inside. He doesn't know everything as much as he likes to think he does. He understands the world but doesn't understand people. He knows if you wait long enough, you will see lead turn to gold just by random chance. But it takes someone confronting him for him to realize each person had a good chance of not being here.